What is Phonk? Phonk is when you mutilate a relatively obscure brand of lo-fi hip-hop to a point when it becomes a legitimate genre of electronic dance music. The roots of Phonk are in the old-school Memphis rap from the 90s. A school of hip-hop that, unlike West Coast or East Coast hip-hop, never got any serious traction, stayed underground, and was pretty much forgotten. Until decades later, some enthusiasts staged some sort of a revival, when producers took these gritty, poorly recorded lo-fi beats, slap on some creepy samples, and top it off with vocals that sound like they've been filtered through an answering machine and then pitch shifted. It became known as Phonk, a deliberate misspelling of funk coined by Space Ghost Perp, a key figure in this Memphis rap revival. But no, this is not the Phonk that blew up on TikTok and basically broke into the mainstream. First, the original Phonk had to travel to Russia of all places, where 15-year-old kids disassembled the whole thing in their pirated FL Studio software to create a soundtrack for drifting. Phonk got infused with the elements of synthwave and house and became faster. This is how the infamous cowbell takes the front seat. Even though originally it is a percussive instrument, the Memphis school who used cheap drum machines had a habit of playing the bell like a piano, because their beloved Boss DR660 actually allowed to change the pitch of the thing. So these cowbell melodies became a hallmark of drift funk, one of the most recognizable elements, which gives the genre a distinctive sound and at the same time frequently makes everything so repetitive and homogeneous that usually you won't be able to figure out the artist who produced this or that particular track, because 90% of the tracks in this genre sound more or less the same. This is where we get the genre of drift funk, which traces its lineage to Memphis while being essentially East European. On top of that sits a rather bizarre aesthetic fueled by a general obsession with the 90s nostalgia embraced by people who never lived in the 90s. So you get your glitchy, VHS quality visuals, retro fonts, and then some anime girls color-corrected to evoke this pseudo-cyberpunk feel. Which theoretically makes sense because it is easy to make a link from drifting to Initial D manga. All of this is supposed to look and sound dark and edgy, and it kind of does, but most of the time it is the edginess of a teenager sitting in his bedroom alone with his favorite Dakimakura pillow. This variation of the genre invaded TikTok and started spreading like a wildfire, leading to a situation when artists like Cordhell have millions of listeners on Spotify, his individual tracks have hundreds of millions on platforms like YouTube, and he has signed a deal with a gigantic talent agency, which is an interesting achievement for a musician who for decades was primarily known as a leader of a black metal band. In a way, he is a Skrillex of black metal. To keep things interesting, the genre tries to evolve and incorporate new tricks. The main trend here became the incorporation of traditional Brazilian music all of a sudden. At this point, it becomes a bit hard to predict the evolution of the genre because it is apparently quite chaotic and straight up random.